having to learn new abilities and new talents. So it's a training process. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Now, when we worked on a couple of mergers, one of the things that we looked at was that if we tried to dissolve one company into another, it just simply didn't work. It did not work well. By taking the team and looking at new rules that everybody had to subscribe to make that company successful, that's when it worked, and it worked very quickly. So in one instance, if you're merging and you're looking at an authentic team culture, you've got the whole team on the same bus headed in the same direction, it works quickly. But an organization that's shifting from a hierarchy to a team culture, it takes time to do.
Could it also be said that this process lends itself to a democratization of business culture? Really?
I think it does.
Yes.
And by democracy, you still have to have your leaders, you have your champions.
Yes.
You have clear direction, you have clear goals. I think more than anything, what it does is it depoliticizes the decision process so that more information, more intelligence is flowing up through the organization as well as laterally. In an organization that is more that has an authentic team culture, a person, it's almost like a small business, because a person will be able to do many different tasks and be put in many different roles because they're trained to do so. They are encouraged to grow. They are encouraged to learn. They are encouraged to not only build their professional skill set, but their personal skill set.
What about people in the organization who clearly come in, they do love the company values, they do love the core values, they do connect and are aligned with the philosophy, they enjoy that business, they enjoy that industry, but they want to make a lot of money? How do you scale tigers in such a way, if they come in with those principles, but they're also very ambitious? Can you describe anything that you've seen that you could somehow blend those aspects together?
Well, absolutely. In fact, team culture is extremely valuable to that end, from the aspect that in a hierarchy, basically you have a salary or you have your job, or a manager is getting a bonus for all your hard work. Maybe even taking your great ideas and making his or her own ideas in order to get those bonuses. In a team culture, there is you often see performance bonuses based on gain sharing, which is savings that occur through the company. A company, for example, that wants to experience less accidents, they have less insurance, so there's a gain in that profit because of savings. So some of these team cultures will bonus on cost savings. Others will bonus on profit. And in some instances, those bonuses come in the framework of preferred stock. So, in terms of wealth building and wealth accumulation, that potential is extremely affordable through a team culture. In fact, it's encouraged. Again, the concept, when we win, I win. And that means also that there's a concerted peer pressure to do well. You will often see a much higher bar in a team culture than you would see in a hierarchy.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
I think that when a person is inspired, they're creative, the culture supports that creativity. The light goes on. People are far more motivated, and they achieve far much more. They're also much happier in the work than they do than in a hierarchy where maybe somebody's good idea was stolen from somebody else, by somebody else. Maybe their work life isn't all that enjoyable. Maybe they're experiencing a lot of stress because the systems, the strategies are more important than the workforce. And as a result, they're not motivated, they're not engaged, and you will often see the most minimum effort that would be recognized as an effort appearing daily as work. A person comes to work, wakes up in the morning 100% person. They go to work, they might share 30% of who their creativity is and what their work excellence is, but it's just enough to stay employed.
Don't you think that most people, based on your life and business experience, are not welcomed to share the full gamut of their accountability, their competency, that almost the workforce runs antithetical in terms of modeling and consciousness to people being in full gear with who they are?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it can be very threatening for a manager to see in a hierarchy, to see this highly talented, on fire, inspired new hire who can look at things a little bit differently and throw literally roadblocks in that person's way to not be shown up in the job that the manager does or to fear their position. So I think oftentimes people will come to work on fire, ready to and they want to. They want to know that that the majority of their life, which we spend more at work than we often do at home, has meaning. And they get their fire doused out so frequently. And in a team culture, the opposite is true. What you have are individuals who want to learn. You create the learning path for them. And I've also seen in many team cultures where there are life coaches available, either on staff or outsourced, to help people through their bumps and hurdles that every individual goes through. But that support is encouraged because the whole person is considered.
I think reading the Zappos example was very interesting, how Zappos has provided a whole systems approach to the workforce. And a lot of up-and-coming companies or startups can't necessarily do what Zappos has done in terms of the manifestation of all the capacities they're providing, but they can have it in their philosophy, they can have it in their operating principles, correct? They can have it in their culture until they're ready in the financial realm to do it.
Absolutely. And we also have an example, for example, Zappos. You mentioned Zappos.
Yes.
They acknowledge that people have energy surges and drains during the day. And so if a person is experiencing an energy drain, they provide space for that individual to, they call it take a nap. It could be some self-reflection time, some just real quiet, chill-out time.
I think it's great. I think it's
where
awesome.
And the statistics are there, Kim, to show that employee, if they take 20 minutes, come back to work almost as though they're just coming through the door in the morning.
I thought it was so refreshing to read that. I actually took a nap yesterday for 30 minutes in the middle of the day. I was doing a meditation. After 10 minutes, let myself go. I was so refreshed from doing that. The whole rest of my day and evening was incredible. And I was talking to a colleague last night on the phone, and I said, you know what? This really should be made available to people all over the world. I know they do it in Italy, and I know they do it in other places in the world, but it works.
Well, and we have actually a small business example in the book with 10 employees where that space is carved out because what that company produces is high-level creativity. And without that time to just, like you said, just let your mind float, you can't operate at that high creative level day in, day out without a rest period.
It's part of recharging, I think, too.
It's recharging, exactly.
As you know, we don't think about that typically in the way that we're raised and the way that we're taught. We don't think about time out in the middle of the day, but it's great. I loved something that you got into, many things you got